working on my microphone. Okay, you're working on your microphone. Okay, fine. That you can hear. I don't know whether they are coming or not, and I don't know whether I should proceed or not. Uh, okay. It's going to be mirroring. Simfui, can you hear me? Simfui, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Yeah, so let's proceed. Can you guys see my screen? Can you see my screen now? Is it visible? Hello, is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah. So by now, I'm sure most of you have gone through the model guide. Yeah, you have gone through. It is expected that you go through chapter one and then chapter two. Yeah. We were supposed to have a class yesterday, but I ran into an emergency. That is why I was not able to be. I was not able to have the class. Yeah. But because we postponed, I think most of you are not coming. But I have to proceed because we are getting behind. Is my accent okay?
Yes, it's okay.
Yeah. Simply, are you okay with my accent? Am I speaking fast or it is okay?
No, it's okay, sir.
Okay, fine. So at the end of chapter one, yeah, it is expected that you guys should be able to know and define what a biometric system is. And then you should know the difference between our traditional methods of authentications and then the biometric system authentication also. Yeah. You should also know the difference between when we say we are verifying something and when we say we are authenticating something and when we say we are identifying something. You should be able to know the difference between that. Yeah. So after that, we will talk about, after that, you guys are supposed to also know the differences between the logical accesses and then the physical accesses. And then we will talk about the biometric system architecture, how it will start from capturing of data and how it is being stored in the database so that anytime a biometric is being input into the system, we can either do identification or a verification. So at the end of chapter one, you guys are supposed to know all these, including some common biometric physiological artifacts. Example that I would say is fingerprint, facial recognition. If time permits, we will go into the details. For example, when you take fingerprint, what are some of the features that the biometric is able to recognize in order to make a conclusion that it is the very same person. So if time permits, we will go and talk about the types of fingerprint and then the features that are in it, which is called minutiae, and then how those features are being extracted and then they are being used. We will also talk about the physiological features. I am sure you guys have gone through this. Can I get a reply from you guys on this? Hello? 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 You guys can't hear me or what? Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
We can hear you, sir.
Yeah, but are you able to see my slides? Are you able to see the slides, the content?
We can't really read.
You can't read? It's blur? No, you
Yeah,
can. You
it's
cannot.
fire blurry
Yeah, but you cannot read right now because I hope you have access to it.
in Blackboard.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Simfui. Can you pronounce your name correctly so that I can mention it correctly?
Simpiwe.
Simfiwi. Okay, Simfui, please, did you go through the nose? Were you able to go through the nose?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so tell me what a biometric is. When we say biometric, what do we mean by what a biometric is? Hello, Richard, are you there? Hello, Mr. Richard.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Richard.
I haven't gone through the. Hello.
Yeah, you have not
I
gone.
didn't go through the notes. Yeah, sir.
Okay, okay, fine. Okay. So if you have not gone through, yeah, it's okay. You can turn off your mic. Yeah, that's fine. If you have not gone through, yeah, when we talk about biometric system, we are talking about a system. Some call it. It's basically a biological system or a biological feature, but you see in other books calling it anatomical features. Some will say physiological features, but whether it is physiological, whether it is whether it is anatomical, they are all biological features. So, are you guys hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good. Yeah. So, let me tell you guys something. The reasons why it has become important to study biometrics is because mainly of security. For example, right now, when you are logging into your email or when you are logging into your computer, you need a PIN, you need a password, you need a token, or you need some form of authentication. But the problem that is arising is that whether you are using the password or you are using the PIN, the system cannot really know that it is you who is accessing the system because somebody can use your password to also access the system. So to be able to know that indeed it is really you who is accessing that particular service, that is why biometric must come in. For example, if you are using a fingerprint to access your computer, that one we are able to know that yeah, surely it is you because nobody else can have access to that fingerprint, and then fingerprints are unique to every individual. Are you guys following? Are you guys following?
Yes, sir. You can continue.
Yeah. So biometric has become very, very important because of security. And then we want to be able to make a conclusion that it is really you who is accessing the system. This issue is coming up because of the security system, especially in the technology, most importantly in cyber security. In cyber security, confidentiality, the pillars are about confidentiality, integrity, availability, and then the fourth one is authentication. The fourth one is the reasons why it has become very important to study this course. Authentication simply means we want to know whether the system or the person who is accessing the service is indeed a genuine user. So yeah, that computer is for you, that email is for you, but are you the genuine user? That is why we are using biometric systems. So when we talk about biometric systems, there are different forms of biometric systems. We have fingerprint. Simple, can you tell me one? Richard, also tell me one. We have fingerprint, yeah. We have the facial images, and what else?
Iris scan.
Iris scan. Okay. Richard, can I hear from you? Are you there? Yeah, simply.
I'm here, sir.
Yeah. So, what are examples of some of the fingerprint biometrics? Examples of biometrics.
I know where you can use a card.
Okay. Yeah, you can use. When we talk about biometrics, we are talking about the biological features about you. For example, your hand geometry, okay, your iris scan, your facial scan, your fingerprint, your DNA, even the way you walk. That one is called a gait, okay. There are intelligent cameras that can be positioned at vantage point, and when they recognize the way you walk, they are able to identify that yes, indeed, this is this particular person. Then you are given an access. Yeah, good. Sentawi, it seems you are resolving your mic. Anytime you resolve it, let me hear from you so that I can also relate to you also. Yeah. So, when we talk about biometrics, we are talking about any biological feature that is present on the body, yeah, that is being used to identify a particular person. Yeah. A biological feature can be anatomical or physiological. When we say physiological, we are talking about processes or we are talking about mechanisms. But when we say anatomical, we are talking about a physical structure that is present on the body. Example of anatomical structure is the vein patterns. The vein patterns are also biometrics. Okay, so these ones are physical and then they are present on the body. But the physiological ones are processes, like for example, the heart rate, the rate at which your heart beats. Also, the rate at which your impulses move. All these things are biometrics, and then they can be used to identify you. The reasons why biometric has become important, as I said earlier, is because of security. Yeah. So in security, for example, if we are using a password, that is the first point. I believe everybody can see it. Increased security. So when we are using the traditional means of authentication, which are usually the password, yeah, I can have access to your username, I can have access to your password, and I can be able to log into your email or your device without you necessarily being there. Yeah. So biometric will not allow that. For example, if we are using your hand scan, yeah, to access a particular system, if I can be able to access the system unless your hand is being cut, and that one too, it can be done, but it is very difficult to do. So biometric has helped us to increase authentication security because the features that it used to give access are present right on the person's body. The next thing that The next thing I will talk about is convenience. For example, if you take password, you can forget passwords, but there is no way your fingerprint may not be there. There are rare situations where, yeah, there can be an injury, there can be an ailment, but we will discuss that more. We will discuss more of that in details. So inconvenience, you are able to use your fingerprint to access the system very easily. But in other words, using password, it is likely that you may forget the password, or it is likely that you may lost the password if the password is written somewhere or on a card. Are you guys following?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The next reason why it is important to use biometric than the traditional usernames and the password is because of accountability. Richard was talking about card. Yeah, a card is not a biometric system. A card is a normal access control system which is being given to you to use. That card can be given to somebody also to use. Doesn't mean that you really came to work. For example, if you have been given a card to slot in at work so that a system records your entry and your exit time, and the card is given to another person, doesn't really mean that you came to work. No. But with biometrics, unless you are there, that system cannot record that you came or you did not come. So with biometric system, it prevents something that we call body punching. Body punching is a phenomenon where, for example, two people are supposed to report to work. One did not go, but one has an access control or a card, and the person gives it to another person so that when the person goes to work, the person can also key in or slot in the card for the other person. Biometric prevents that, and that is why we say in terms of accountability, biometric has an increased accountability. When you take fraud detections, yeah, you guys are saying you were not able to go through the notes. That is why I'm taking my time to go through the points one by one. But subsequently, you have to be able to read this so that when I come to class, you can ask questions and then I can explain to foster understanding. When you take fraud detection, for example, if there is a biometric system would definitely prevent multiple personalities. For example, if there is one person and then the same person creates another account somewhere, biometric would definitely prevent that, because you are using a single access control. For example, if it is by fingerprint, it is going to be that single fingerprint which is going to be used to access those two accounts. And in biometric system, you will be able to identify that this person has multiple personality. So in terms of fraud detection, biometric helps to prevent that, because biometric help us to resolve multiple identities. Also in fraudulent documentations, like for example, cards. Yeah, some people can produce multiple cards for fraudulent activities, but if you are using a biometric system, yeah, that cannot be done. The system will show in it that, yeah, you have a multiple identification in that particular system. So because biometric, yeah. So welcome, Jumo. Yeah. So because biometric prevent multiple personalities and fraudulent activities, it helps to deter people, yeah, from committing fraud. That is the fifth point. So it helps to deter people from committing fraud because they know, because it is a biometric system, and then they do their registrations. Yeah, that is it. It records it at once, and that is your account, and it uses that to always identify you. When you take biometric stands on two main things. Yeah, which is identification and verification. When you are verifying, it means there is a third data that has been added. But if it is identification, yeah, for example, biometric has become very important in forensics. Yeah. The reason why biometric has become very, very important in forensics is it helps us to resolve identity. Now, if I have a database of fingerprints, or if I have a database of DNA, which is there, and then there is a crime, and at the crime scene, I am able to recover a fingerprint pattern. When I scan that fingerprint in that particular database, I will be able to find out the person who went to the crime scene and left that fingerprint there. And in the database too, mostly when the fingerprints are being stored, the fingerprints are being stored with your name, where you live, your height, where you work, your phone numbers, and other things, including your passport pictures. So, in identification, biometric has become very, very essential because it helps us to resolve identity, it helps us to find a particular person. And in verification comes with a third additional data, like for example, a card. If there is a fingerprint database, and then there are other data that has been associated with it, like your Senate card, your driving license, and then there is a biometric system. Immediately the fingerprint is being scanned, or immediately, for example, if it is a DNA, it is being scanned and it is being input into the system. The system is able to resolve that, yeah, it is this particular person, and then, okay, Tando. Okay, fine. Yeah. I hope you guys can still see my screen, those who have joined. Hello? Those who just joined are who? Tando, can you hear me? Barnabas, can you hear me? Tando, can you hear me?
But I can hear you there.
Okay, fine. What about Tando? If I'm not pronouncing the names correct, you correct me on that so that I can say it appropriately next time. Yeah. So let's continue. Yeah. In the same way, in identification and verification, if I have access to a particular card which is being left on the screen on a crime scene, or if I have a particular card and then there is a fingerprint database, that can help me to authenticate another person, because immediately, for example, a social security number on the card, or the card is being slotted in with the biometric database, it is able to resolve that it is this particular person. So let me differentiate this clearly for you to understand. When we are using a data, when we are authenticating in identification, using with identification, excuse me 1 minute. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So are you guys follow me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, fine. Yeah. So with verification, as I was explaining earlier, yeah, A third data should be present, yeah, which can be in the form of a card, it can be in the form of a token, just to verify that, yeah, it is you. Now, in the identification, mostly it is the matching, which I have explained from the crime scene point of view. Yeah, if we want to identify that it is you, because we have a database sitting somewhere, we just scan your fingerprint, or we just capture your fingerprints, or if it is a DNA, yeah, that one is being processed in the lab, and then it is being matched with what is in the database, and that is able to resolve whether it is you or it is not you. Finger biometric is being used in a lot of ways. Yeah, it can be used. It's being used mainly for, let me say, logical access controls. Yeah, but aside logical access controls, there are other physical access controls in which biometric is being used for. Recently, not recently, yeah, but for some time now, hard drives has been made, and then now biometric are being used to access those hard drives. So the hard drives are locked, and then there is a screen that can scan your fingerprint, and that one is able to identify that it is you, and then the hard drive is being opened for you to have access to your data. Also, door locks has been made in that way, yeah, and then man traps has been made in that way. If you are working in a particular company and then you are inside, I know you guys understand these phenomenons already, yeah, and the door has to, access has to be made to you. You just input your either it is in sophisticated systems, we have iris scans, and that one is able to resolve whether it is you or not, and if it is you, access is being given to you. Yeah. So let's look at the biometric system architecture. Yeah. In the biometric system architecture, there are four main steps. The first step has to do with acquisition, yeah, and acquisition goes with capturing the data, yeah, capturing the data correctly. Mostly, when data is being captured, there are a lot of factors that are in place. Yeah, we have environmental conditions, we have health conditions, we have the instrument also challenges, and then we have also other challenges that may come in from the human side, human error. Yeah. So the main steps are acquisition and then feature extraction. When you take feature extraction, yeah, I like mentioning the fingerprint a lot because that is one of the most common biometric that everybody knows. So after your fingerprint has been taken, yeah, there are features in them that are being extracted, yeah, and that features, if it is for the first time, they are being databased, yeah, but if it is for subsequent times, those features are being used for matching in order to resolve whether it is you or it is not you. So what is so yeah. So, for example, if you take feature extraction after your fingerprint has been captured, and then we need to extract features. There are a lot of features that are present inside the fingerprint that can be used to resolve whether it is you or not. Let me move to the class and try to get a reply from you guys. Yeah, whether you guys can tell me anything about any feature at all that you know in fingerprint that can be used to resolve personal identity. There are a lot of features. Before we discuss that, let me ask you guys. Let me mention name. Yeah, Mr. Tando, are you there? Hello?
Yes,
Yeah. Mr. Tando, please can you tell us any feature at all that is present in a fingerprint that we can use to resolve an identity? What about Jumo? Jumo, are you there? Can you hear me? It seems your mic is already on. A problem with your mic? Okay, fine. Jumo has a problem with his mic. Yeah, Mr. Richard, you were the first person to join. Yeah. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So let's continue. In the fingerprint, we have a lot of features. Yeah. In the fingerprint, let me see whether I can show you guys some. We have a lot of features in the fingerprint that are called minutiae. Fingerprint minutiae, okay. Let me go to images. Can you guys see the screen? Hello, can some of you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So inside the fingerprint, we have a lot of features that are inside, and these features are called minutiae. So in when the feature extraction is being done, what happens is that these are single elements that are present inside the fingerprint, and these are different for everybody. Their position, their size, how it looks is different for everybody. So these things are called minutiae, and examples of this minutiae are bifurcation. But the first point, if the fingerprint is being scanned, the system has to identify it, whether it is a hole, fingerprint patterns, okay. Fingerprint patterns. Okay, let me pick this. Okay, good. So can you guys see on the screen?
Yes, we can see.
Yeah. So when the fingerprint is being captured, yeah, the first analysis done by the system is to know whether it is a loop, a hole, or an arch. We have four main types. We have an arch, we have a loop, we have a hole, and then we have an accident. Those are the four main types of fingerprint. So the first detailed analysis has to do with identifying the fingerprint overview. Yeah. So the gross identification, the system has to resolve whether the fingerprint is a loop, an arch, a hole, or an accident. After it detects these to know the overview of a particular fingerprint, then it goes inside to pick the ridges one by one. The lines that you are seeing inside are called ridges. So for example, this particular one that you are seeing at the top left corner is an arch fingerprint. An arch, the ridge enters from one side and then it exits from the other side. So the system, the biometric system, has to identify which fingerprint is it, which type is it. This is an arch. Now, when you pick a particular ridge, when you pick one ridge, okay, look, for example, I have picked the 11th ridge. If I pick the 11th ridge and I trace it from starting to the end, what do I see from that ridge? That is what is called the minutiae. Sometimes you see a dot, sometimes you see the line, which is the ridge, will be moving to a certain point and then it breaks and then it starts again. Sometimes it moves and then it diverts into two and then it goes and closes again and then it moves towards the exit line. That is a link. We have bifurcations, we have trifurcations, we have spars, we have crossovers, yeah, we have ladders, we have a lot of things like that. I don't want to go detailed into it like that. But I want you guys to understand how the identification process is being resolved. So in feature extractions, after the fingerprint has been captured, this is what happens. The system has to check what kind of fingerprint pattern is it. Is it a hole? Is it an arch? Or it is a loop? Now, if it identifies whether it is an arch, then it analyzes the fingerprint ridges one by one. If it picks the first ridge, what features can we identify in it? What position is it? The second ridge like that, the third ridge like that, until all the ridges get finished. So for example, if we have a trifurcation or a bifurcation at the second ridge, at the beginning of the second ridge, it means that in the database, it should also be like that. Or if already it is in the database and then we find these from a system that you want to have an access to, then the second ridge, there should be that bifurcation or trifurcation there. That is being scanned and matched with what is inside the database. Now there is a third detailed analysis, but I will not go there. As we progress in the class, yeah, I will explain that one to you guys. Yeah. So in the feature extraction, that is what goes in there. That is the most important step in a biometric fingerprint system. Immediately the acquisition is being done, the extraction comes in, and that is the most important thing. The rest of the game is matching in the database or storing. If it is the first time we are building a fingerprint database, then after the feature extraction, then we need to store. But if it is identification that we are trying to resolve or a verification that we are trying to resolve, then it means we have to do a matching. So when you look at the fingerprint, the biometric system architecture, it is very, very simple. It is in 4 stages, even though it can be expanded into more than 4 stages. But this is the basic one that every biometric system can have. Let me get back to you guys again. Is it okay for you guys? Were you guys able to understand? Is there any other question that I have to answer? Hello, can you guys hear me? Is everything okay? Especially with the architecture, the biometric system architecture. My voice cannot be heard. Yeah. Tando, can you hear me? Simfiri, can you hear me? Hello. I just want to know I'm not just talking.
We can hear you, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Yeah, so in biometric techniques, yeah, we have the static ones and then we have the dynamic ones. The static ones is what I told you that in some books you may see it as anatomical biometric techniques. We are saying anatomical because it is present on the body. We are talking about a physical structure that you can feel and then you can touch. The dynamic ones, which is the behavioral biometrics, those ones are processes, or they are, let me say, mechanisms that take place. It is in motion. Yeah. But the static ones, those ones are fixed. A typical example is fingerprint. Fingerprint is fixed. It never changes. It remains the same, and then that is it. Another example of a static one is the facial recognitions, the hand geometries. For example, when we say hand geometry, when you take your hands, yeah, how long is each finger? What is the width of the fingers? Yeah, what is the length of the fingers? So all these things are being resolved, and then it is being database. For example, if you take facial recognitions, the biometric system, when it is capturing it, it will take it will take a facial picture, but it takes the facial picture by resolving each of the facial components. Example, your nose. How does your nose look? What is the size of your nose? How wide it is? When you take the eye socket, how is it deep? Okay, the mouth, how big is it? So all these things are being resolved with the system, and then these components are what is being played together in order to resolve your facial identification. When you take DNA, DNA is being processed, highly biological. It is being processed into what is called genes, genomic sequence. These genomic sequence are called nucleotides. These nucleotides sometimes, let me show you guys nucleotide sequence. Okay, nucleotide sequence database. No, let me say genes. Okay. I want to see it in. Okay, who is that? Someone wants to join. Okay, fine. Nucleotide sequence. Yeah. Okay, yeah, very good. Yeah, so for example, when you take your DNA, yeah, the DNA is being resolved into genes. Yeah, these genes come in the form that you are seeing on the screen. T, G, C, A, A, C, yeah, that is thymine, guanine, adenine, and all those things. Yeah, so it is being generated, the DNA is being processed into what is called genes. Okay, everybody's genes, the reason why they say the DNA, your DNA is different is because of the genes. Yeah. So the reason why they say everybody's DNA is different is it is because of the genes. So for example, if your blood is being found and then there is a DNA, the country has a DNA database. And then, for example, a crime occurred and then there was a particular blood spot at the crime scene. And then we take that blood and we process it. We are going to extract the DNA from the blood and then we are going to match it with the database of the DNA that the country is having. Now, if your genes, the reason why we are saying DNA is unique is because of the genes. Yeah? The way these T, G, C, A are arranged, everybody's own is arranged differently. Yeah. So, for example, if that blood is found in the crime scene, and then your DNA sequence is like this, TGCAA, it means that DNA that we found from the blood at the crime scene is going to have the same sequence. So this is the reasons why we are able to use DNA as a biometric in resolving identification. When you take the ear, it is the same. There are individual features that are present inside the ear. When you take the retina, that one too, it is the same. So it is the same with the concept that I explained to you using the fingerprint. So for example, and also using the facial recognition. Let me explain the facial recognition again for the benefit of those who just entered. Yeah. When we are resolving identity or verification, the first step is the face must be captured. When the face is captured, the system must be able to resolve your nose, how it is, how big it is, how wide it is. It is the same with the ears, it is the same with the eyes, it is the same with the mouth, the cheeks, the forehead, and everything. So these individual components are being recognized on the face, and that is what is being assembled together to form the whole face image in order to recognize that yes, indeed, it is you. For example, also when you take the iris, there are individual components that are inside the iris that help us to resolve identity. Example of these individual components which have been learnt in biology are the furrows, the coronets, the shapes, the striations, the freckles, the filament, and all those things. The color is also part. So biometric systems are able to recognize these individual features that are present in the iris. And that is how come they put them together and then they are able to resolve identity. When you take the ear, it is also the same. The ear has a cerebral part which has been studied in biology already. Examples of those parts are the helix. Example are the anti-helix, the tragus, the antitragus. How does the lobe look like? The lower part of the ear, how does it look like? How thick is it? Yeah, how big is it? The biometric system are able to recognize these things and assemble them together as your ear, and that is how come it will be able to use your ear to recognize you. When you take the retina, it is the same thing, on and on and on and on and on like that. Now, when you come to the dynamic biometric techniques or the dynamic biometric system, for example, in authentication, there has been a leak of an audio up there and then it is threatening the security agency. How can we be able to recognize that this audio is for this particular person? Yeah. Now, what happens is that everybody's has a unique way. Everybody has a unique audio identification. The way you speak, the way your auditory features place together to bring out the sound is different from the way somebody also does. So in authentication, it's code frequency. Yeah. So for example, basically your frequency will be different from another person's frequency. So when you take, for example, let me see, yeah, Mr. Barnabas, yeah, the way the vocal cords plays, the individual component which is inside the auditory system of a particular, for example, Mr. Barnabas, is different from that of, let's say, Mr. Richard. So these things, they play individually, and this helps to generate different frequencies for everybody based on which we are able to identify that it is you or it is not you. When you take signatures, it is the same. Yeah, the pressure at which you apply the pen, yeah, the speed at which you write the signatures, yeah, you can say the depth, yeah, or the depth. You can also say in fingerprint identification, you can look at loopings, how you loop, yeah. Those are unique features that is able to identify you. In handwriting, for example, when you write, we are able to resolve that this is your very handwriting because the way you write every particular letter is different from the way somebody also writes it. The way somebody will write A is different from the way another person will write A. When you are writing Y, some people will write Y and loop it. Some people will write Y and bend it. Some people will write Y and leave it straight like that. All these are individualistic features that helps to identify you. Because I said individualistic features, there are features that are associated to a particular group or a particular class. For example, the ways Africans write will be different from the way Asians write. So those ones are called the class characteristics or class features. Mostly in forensic, they are being termed as class characteristics and then individual characteristics. So the way Americans speak is different from the way Africans speak. Yeah. So those ones, when you are associating a particular, you are trying to identify a particular biometric, yeah, you begin by identify it. For example, if there has been an audio leak on the from Africa to America, that is how obviously you have to start analyzing it. You have to start analyzing it to a group, and then before you zoom in into that individual. When you take thermographs, I am sure we have been watching movies and sometimes CIA and FBI. When a terrorist is being stuck inside a building, they have a particular camera that they use to take to have a picture of that particular person inside the building. That camera is able to capture the picture because of the heat that is coming from the person, that the person is radiating from the body. Yeah, so those cameras, even there are a lot of those cameras. Let me see whether I can find some of them. Thermal cameras. Thermal camera. Let me see whether I'll find some of them to view image. Yeah, so I hope you guys can see my screen. Hello?
Yes, sir, you can see.
Yeah, so this is a typical examples of the thermographs. Yeah, so these cameras are being used. So for example, your thermograph would definitely be different from somebody's thermograph because the amount of heat that is radiating from your body is different from the amount of heat that is radiating from somebody's body. So these are some of the cameras. I think Compact Pro XR. These are some of the cameras that are being used in taking these thermographs. It is being also used in the National Geography a lot when they want to find those animals where they are. These cameras have been used to take to find. Yeah. Gait. When you take gait is talking about walking patterns. The way you walk is different from the way everybody walks. Yeah. How far you move your leg. Yeah. When you are stepping down, some people step on their toes, some people step with their full feet down, some people will step with their heels up. All those things are different. When you step on the floor, some people's foot will be pointing forward, others will be pointing wayward. Yeah, so there can be camera system that can recognize your gait. That is the way you walk, your walking pattern, and it will be able to know that it is you. There are keystrokes, the way you type on your computer, the rate at which you type, how you type a particular letter, how you access a particular resource, the speed at which you type. All these things are typical examples of dynamic biometric systems. The lip motion, how you move when you are speaking, the way your lips move. Yeah, body. Okay, skin reflection is there. Skin reflection is very easy to understand. Yeah, it is the way your skin reflects light when light is being shined or when light is being thrown on it. Yeah, let me talk about body odor. Yeah, we have a particular device called electronic nose. Yeah, and that electronic nose is being used to sense the odor of every for example, in China, I know of China. Yeah, the government has what is called an electronic nose, and that electronic nose is being used to collect different scents, everybody and the scent that they possess, or everybody and the odor that they possess. And those odor are being databased into a particular system. So for example, when you go to a particular crime scene, or for example, when you want to access a particular system, yeah, the system can be used to sense the particular sense that you possess in order to recognize whether it is you or it is not you. The reason why I was able to read on this case was there was this database of order by the Chinese government, and somebody went to a particular crime scene to commit a crime, and then the person unfortunately got an accident at the scene, and then part of his flesh was being left at the crime scene. When this was being pegged and being sent to the lab for analysis, it was the body odor electronic nose which was being used to recognize that flesh, and then it was able to come out that it was this particular person that was at the crime scene. So with the dynamic or the behavioral biometric techniques, they are mainly, you have to note them that they are mainly processes. They are mechanisms that are going on. That is why we say they are dynamic. But with the physiological, or some books we say anatomical, those ones are the static ones. Yeah. There are other ones apart from this. For example, your foot pattern or your footprint. Yeah, it is also one example of the static or the physiological biometric features. Yeah. So biometric features has some strengths, and then it also has some weaknesses. Yeah. We all know the reasons I have explained, and I believe we can say, if we were paying attention, we all know the reasons why we will opt for a biometric system. Obviously, because of the weaknesses. Yeah. And one of the reasons why I would choose the biometric system is because now it has become very important that we use very complicated passwords. And it is likely that some of these passwords, you may forget them. Yeah. And every account, you must have a different password for it. And then every 30 days or every 15 days, you must be able to change all these passwords. So this is becoming very complex to human, and this is becoming very, very too much. And that is why the biometric is becoming essential. When you look at this from the government's point of view, the government wants to make sure that any system that you are accessing, it is you that is accessing the system, and not any other person who have stolen your credentials or who you have given your credentials to. Yeah. So the reasons why we will opt for biometric system are because of some of these reasons. And then the biometric system is also easy to use. The moment you just rub yourself on that screen, your fingerprint is being scanned, and then it is being used. But there are weaknesses. Some of the weaknesses is that, who can tell me, let me go back to you guys. Yeah. Let me go back to you guys. Can anybody at all turn on the mic and then tell me at least two weaknesses that will be in the biometric system? Hello. Yeah, Mr. Tando, Simfiwi, Senteri, Mr. Richard, Imoloki. Yeah. Jumo, I see you still have problem with your mic. And then Mr. Barnabas. Can any of you tell me the weaknesses that is likely to exist within the biometric system? Hello. Can I hear from you guys? Am I speaking to just only the screen?
Hello. Hi.
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm speaking to just the screen. All of you are not paying attention, and you've left your devices
Hello.
and you are doing something else.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yeah, Mr. Imoloko, I wanted to know two weaknesses
Yeah.
that may exist within the biometric system. I have a response from Jumo, that's good. Yeah, but let me hear you.
Uh, I don't know. I think maybe it's in biometrics as when we grow up and we change in terms of age.
Okay,
So it may be a weakness that someone can have.
okay,
Maybe the the facials, the eyes, or
okay,
the the hand in terms of the fingerprint. So some of those things that can
okay,
change.
okay, fine. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Let me read that for yeah, Jumo. Okay, Jumo is talking about injuries and then accident as a disadvantage. Okay, fine. That's good. Yeah. So now let's go ahead. Yeah. So these are some of the weaknesses, and then these are some of the strengths that I have talked about. Now let's proceed to the applications, and I think this one, it is you guys can read it and then you guys can understand it. There is no hassle in it. If you have any difficulty in this, you can let me know. I will explain. Yeah. So in terms of the application, we have the forensic application which used to resolve missing persons, terrorist identification, cops identification, criminal investigation, and then yeah, parenthood, yeah, determining maternity and then paternity, and then for the government application, passport control, yeah, boarding controls, yeah, access controls, yeah, identification in terms of driving license, social security, and e-voting systems. Yeah, the biometric are very, very essential in those areas. Other application has to do with surveillance. Surveillance, especially, that is what I mentioned about gate, using your gate, yeah, to identify you. So these are some of it is in the banking sector. It is being used for. It is also very, very useful there. And then we have an hour now. Let me fall back to you guys. If you guys are okay, I will close the session and then I will add chapter 2 to our next class, because today was not the actual day that we were supposed to have this class, and I'm sure this class has run into some of you your schedule. So let me just use an hour. Chapter 1 is discussed. Are you guys there? If you guys are okay,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, we are here.
Okay, so chapter 1 is discussed. If anybody has any challenge at all in understanding any of the content that is present in chapter 1, kindly let me know so that I can explain. Other than that, yeah, I would like to close right now and prepare for another class.
Okay. Thank you. Though I joined in late, I think there was a recording here. Maybe I'll catch up on the first topics of these lessons because
Okay,
I joined in late. I think I joined in when we were talking about the thermographs.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, fine. Okay, anybody else? Is anybody having any difficulty or any challenge? Simfiwe, are you there?
Yes, it's okay. I'm okay.
Okay, okay, fine. What about Mr. Richard? Can you hear me? Yeah, you were the first to join. If there is any difficulty, let me know. If there is no difficulty, fine. And my WhatsApp numbers and then my emails are present on Blackboard in the announcement and all those. If you are reading and you run into any difficulty, you can fall back to me, you can write to me, and I will answer your queries. On this note, if there are no further questions, I will end the class and go and prepare for another class. Thank you. Okay, see you guys. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.